Hi and welcome to our Flip Preaching video. We're continuing our series, Living in Lockdown, Finding God at Home. We're going to be exploring not John's Gospel but Luke's Gospel and chapter 24 verses 33 to 49. This story that we have comes at the very end of the Emmaus Road story. We just pick it up as the disciples have discovered that this is Jesus that they've been walking along that road with all this time, and they run back to Jerusalem to share with the other disciples, and it's in that moment that Jesus reveals himself to them and he eats with them to show that he's not a ghost, and then begins to teach them. This is the moment in one sense where the disciples capture the reality of Jesus' resurrection, that he is there, he is with them, and he begins to explain what that means and what that looks like to them in that moment. We're going to look a little bit more at what it is to believe and to question, but I think that's maybe where I'll just leave you a little bit hanging in order that we can look together a bit more on Thursday into this. This whole section in Luke and in some of the other Gospels as well, there's this whole thing about doubt and question, this whole thing about not being 100% sure. Often this is all put at Thomas's doorstep, but I reckon there's a much bigger situation going on. And I think for many of us, we're in this situation that we find ourselves in, where we're always asking questions. How long will the lockdown last? What will happen about children going back to schools? Will we be able to gather as church again before September, before Christmas? Will we be able to shop in supermarkets the same way? How can we avoid spreading the virus to other people even if we don't have a vaccine? Each and every day we ask ourselves questions, we ponder, we wonder, and we try to imagine what the world will look like. And even sometimes when we see the reality of it being played out, we're not quite sure if it's real. And so I think there's something in this passage that links into how we may be feeling, the questions that we are asking in this moment. But the other things that I want to focus on is this sense of joy and amazement the disciples feel alongside this not knowing unbelief. There's this sense of being in two places at once. And again, I know what that feels like, because right now there are times where I'm excited, there are times where I am thankful, there are times where I am amazed at what is on offer and what is happening at this time, as we gather outside in our streets and applaud for the NHS, as we talk to our neighbours longer than we probably have done in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, as we connect with people we've never connected with, as we learn how to be church in new ways. There are things that make us joyful and we are amazed for. And yet alongside that there are these difficult moments where we don't believe that everything that we'll ever get out of this, that we don't believe that things will go back to some kind of normality, or that we won't be able to get out the other side in one piece. There are these questions and these moments of joy, and we're trying to live through each and every one of them at the same time, and it's not always easy. The final thing I just want to reference in this passage is the fact that Jesus, he asked them for something to eat to show that he is flesh and bone. That this isn't some vision or delusion or apparition. This is Jesus in the flesh. And he can eat food with them as he's eaten food with them so many times before. And we have it a little bit in John's Gospel if we'd gone a bit further, when he eats with his disciples on the beach. This is not some ghost, but this is someone real right there before them. And for me, that is the reality that I and others can hang on to. You can hang on to in this time, that Jesus is real. We may not see him in that same way. We may not experience him as someone speaking to us as an actual human being. Although I believe in some of the actions that we are experiencing, in some of those things that we are seeing in our communities, God is most definitely at work through them. But Jesus can be there with us wherever we find ourselves. So as you ponder this passage, as you think about what God is doing in you, in the church, in your community, in this world, maybe you just want to look at some of these things and pray through them, about this balance between the amazement and joy of this time alongside the questions and the doubt of it. maybe you want to explore something around the idea of the reality of Jesus being present with you, knowing where you are, or maybe you've got other thoughts or questions that have come out of this and you just want to ponder them, please send them through to me. I always enjoy reading and understanding how other people see these passages. But we're going to be live on Thursday at 7 o'clock exploring this a bit detail, and then actually I'll be on at the circuit service on Sunday at 10:30 as well if you want to join us. Again, it would be great to have you gathered there with you so we can share in this time. But please know that we're praying, that I'm praying and others. Please know that we're working on ways of connecting people as we go on. And please know that if you need anything, that we as a church are here for you. Take care. Bye.